We are counting down to the number one game for Frenzy's top 50 games of the 2024 college football season. We were at 50 through 41 with episode 200. Then we went to 40 through 31. Then went to 30 through 21, and now we're at 20 through 11 in the year of our Lord 2025 on Tuesday, March 4th, getting closer to this Thursday's March 6th episode where it's 10 through 1, the number one game of Frenzy's top 50 games of the 2024 college football season. Today it is 20 through 11. Cannot wait for the selection of games because these selection of games are pretty much a doozy, I believe. I think at least. So we can't wait for it. We're excited. We're pumped. Guys, we're getting ready for the number one game of Frenzy's top 50 2024 games of the college football season. Guys, it is already March, and we cannot believe that we are getting closer and closer to the 2025 college football season. But until we do that, we got to rewind it, unveil our number one game, and then move forward to 2025. With that being said, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, or listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, after watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow up the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football questions as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Not NFL because this is a college football show, but I occasionally speak on X. Guys, website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy, news episode updates, all that. Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. There's contact info down below. I will get to that on air or off air if need be. There is platforms page. All the platforms pages I just mentioned. Go and click on which one's your favorite listening style of the show. There is also store and affiliations. More on that coming soon as we continue to regularly update everything on Pigskin Frenzy's website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. College football day today. Frenzy's top 50 games of the 2024 college football season, 20 through 11 on our list. Some cliff notes from last past Thursday's episode, 30 through 21. We had Ole Miss in Florida at 21. We had games like the third Saturday of October with Alabama and Tennessee, LSU and Ole Miss on there. We had BYU and Utah, BYU and Kansas, Arizona State and BYU. We had a lot of tough classic games that could have been on this selection of games, but these selection of games are pretty solid, and you're going to love what we have in store and cooked up for Thursday's 10 through 1 list coming up, and we are ready to rock and roll. I'm excited. I know you guys are excited. So without any further ado, let's kick it off, guys, and let's go for it. 20 through 11. I'm not going to keep you waiting much longer. And by the way, just to let you guys know before to just wait a little bit longer, which was kind of funny I said that, we have, if you didn't catch this past episode, this past Thursdays with 30 through 21, I don't know what you're waiting on. It's out now. Go and click on it. Episode 202 of Pigskin Frenzy is out now. All platforms. This is episode 203 right now. But if you didn't know about 30 through 21, go and listen to it. Also, our list is on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy on both channels. Follow, like, subscribe on all platforms, and comment down below on which one, if you have disagreements or agreements on the games that we have selected so far throughout our top 50 list. Guys, it's on our list, on our platforms right now. We're going to post 20 through 11 tomorrow on Wednesday, March 5th. On all platforms. You're not going to want to miss it. Go and like it and subscribe on all platforms. We are close, so close to 4,600 listeners, guys. Big thank you and shout out to just getting our listeners up and up and up each episode. Can't wait for it and can't wait to keep plugging in and keep going over the moon with Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, 20 through 11, without any further ado, let's kick it off with number 20. And you're going to think 20 through 20 through 17. I'm just going to let you, just spoiler alert on this one. It's all Miami games. all Miami games, back to back to back to back, all Miami games. So you're going to be like, okay, so you're just going to do Miami again, right? But these games were so good, we had to put them back to back to back to back. So without any further ado, number 20, Miami versus Cal. Miami versus Cal at number 20, coming in hot. Miami defeated Cal 39-38. When we watched this game, it was late. When I'm saying late, it was late because Miami went out to Cal. Cal was the newest and first edition, or one of the newest teams, and this is their first year in the ACC. You're thinking a Pacific team in a coastal Atlantic Conference Eastern Coast team or Eastern Coast Conference. That's kind of weird. But in this game, the first quarter, game day was there for it. Game day was there for Miami and Cal, and game day was one of the best game day atmospheres I've seen in quite some time. Berkeley and Cal showed out, and they were ready to rock and roll through this game. First quarter, it was 7-7. If you want to look at the scorecards here, it was 7-7 in the game, and Cal was bringing it to Miami. And you're thinking, okay, Cam Ward and Miami's got some competition. But the thing is, these stretch of games really exposed their defense. It really did. Miami was in desperate need of a bye week. Sometimes bye weeks help. Bye weeks certainly help when it comes to these type of games, and they were in desperate need of one. 7-7 in the first quarter, then Cal, they in the second quarter, it's 10-7, and then all of a sudden, it's 21-10 at the end of the second. Cal takes a lead at half, and they outscore them 14-3 in the second quarter. Then Cal answers with another 14 points, 14-8 in the third, and then all of a sudden, Miami, because Cal has Miami on the ropes. Cal is beating them and on the verge of upsetting them. And then all of a sudden, what we see here is Cal getting beat in the fourth quarter. Miami scores late, 21-3 in the fourth, and then all of a sudden, it's a comeback for Miami and a one-point comeback for Miami, 39-38, but then it didn't come without controversy. It was back and forth, a big comeback by Miami, but the controversy is where I rank this game at 20 is because of the penalties. Horrible pass interference penalty on California happened. Miami gets down to the red zone. Miami scores late, and Miami wins the ball game 39-38. It was heartbreaking for Golden Bears fans and faithful. Miami wins in a 39-38 game. It was controversial. It was a classic. It was back and forth, and it was one of those things, kind of like what I said last Thursday about BYU. You play close, you play close, you play close. You dominate it first. You dominate it first, and then you play close, then you play close. It gets closer and closer. Then you're thinking, okay, we beat them by a point. We survived that game. Then we survived this game. Then we really survived this game. And then it implodes and you get beat. When you go game by game like that, you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're going to get beat. You just don't know when. Then you have that game on your schedule when you snap your fingers and you're like, they get beat right there. That's the game they're going to get beat in. Don't worry, Miami is going to have that game. And they have two of those games, actually, and it's both are on these lists. 39-38 was the final score of this game. It was controversial. It was a classic. The game day atmosphere was insane. Mendoza, who is now at Indiana, curious to see what he's going to do with Indiana and Kirk Cinetti there. But Cal was rocking for an upset, and they blew a huge lead in the fourth quarter, and Miami comes back after some controversial calls by the refs. The officiating was not good. Bunch of angry and heartbroken Cal Golden Bear fans, and Miami gets the win and remains undefeated against Cal, and they survive. Back and forth game in the fourth. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say back and forth, it was kind of wishy-washy. Cal had it. Miami capitalized late, and Cal kind of gave it to him late, and then the controversy at the very end with the refs. All key ingredients of a college football classic in 2024, and Miami gets the win over Cal. It's number 20 on our list, Miami versus Cal. 39-38, Miami wins. That is number 20, Miami versus Cal. Number 19 on our list, another Miami game. Number 19, Vatech versus Miami. It was at home for Miami. It was a Friday night game. I watched it. It did not come without any controversy. Of course it was controversial. A bunch of Miami games had some controversy in it, and this was one of them. 19, Vatech versus Miami. Kyron Jones played well, and Vatech played well. They were all over Miami. I was picking Miami to win this game. I didn't think Miami was going to get, beat like this. Close relatives, Cam Ward and Drones were battling it out, going back and forth on the football field. Drones was running the ball well, throwing the ball well. Vitek was running the ball well on the ground, and Miami's defense did not have an answer. Miami's defense at this time was starting to get a little bit more, okay, they're starting to be a little bit more sus. They weren't as bad as 2023's LSU defense, but they played bad in a lot of ways, and it kind of reminds you a little bit of, okay, like LSU in 2023, fantastic offense, not so good defense. This game kind of showed that for the Hurricanes. Vitek ran the ball, like I said, ran the ball well and did well. But then, Miami all of a sudden started to come back, right? And come back. Let's look at the first quarter. 14-7 Miami, 17-3 Vitek, 7-3 in the third quarter, then 14-7 Miami in both quarters. It was 38-34 final score. Very close game. Vitek held the lead the majority of the second half because Vitek would keep pushing back after Miami would score. Vitek held the lead up until very late in the end, the September 27th game. This was a week before the Cal fiasco exactly. And then Miami, late in the game, scored 38-34. Late in the game, let's talk about late in the game. The controversial call that everybody wants to talk about, and this is why it's number 19 on our list and in the top 20 of games on our list because of the controversy. The Hail Mary from Kyron Jones all the way to, we thought it was a touchdown. We thought it was incomplete. It was back and forth. It was the review heard around the world on that night, and not just that, but in around college football, but of the year, one of the most crucial calls of the year, it seemed like, because tosses up Hail Mary. It was a big tussle. A lot of people thought the ball was coming out and it was incomplete, but a lot of people thought it was a touchdown. And after the play was blown dead, it was then on the ground after that. They thought it was an interception. They reviewed it. It was called an interception, but then it was called a touchdown. And then they said, okay, Vitek was going to, win the game. And by a touchdown, the crowd was going crazy. I was going crazy. I thought it was a huge upset. Then the referees and the officiating crew reviewed it in the booth. And then after that, it was deemed an incomplete, and they reversed the call. And Miami gets away with a win on Vitek, 38-34, and it was an incomplete Hail Mary. Vitek had the ball in its hands. I didn't think it was it's inclusive evidence that changed that. If the call on the field is a touchdown and Vitek wins the game, if you don't have any indisputable evidence to overturn it, you don't call it. And I've said that many times. I said that many times throughout the year in both of the sports that I cover with NFL and college, but now we're just covering college on this show. I said that you can't change an indisputable call. If you don't have any indisputable evidence, you don't call it. And guess what they did? They called it, and you don't do that. Miami wins the game, and there was no indisputable evidence for them to overturn it. I thought he had the ball in his hands, and then when the scuffle happened, after the play was blown dead, the ball hit the ground then. That's what I thought. But apparently not. Miami wins the game. Controversial call, classic call. Everybody's losing their mind. I'm like, how does Miami win this ball game? That's what I'm thinking. How does Miami actually win this ball game? It was controversial. It was high octane. Fans were storming out for Vitek. Miami fans were rushing the field after beating Vitek on that Friday night. It was a high and intense and emotional football game, back and forth, where Miami was on its heels again. They come back late in the fourth, and then Vitek has to, along with Kyron Jones at quarterback, has to throw a Hail Mary and a prayer to win it, and it comes with controversy as the ref overturns the call. This is why games like this are, one, important for changing college football. The refs need to get better. We need full-time officials in football. I've said that from the beginning, and this is why. That's number one. Number two, games like this makes you feel why it makes you feel something good about college football, and it makes you feel like this is why college football is the greatest sport on earth, because people keep talking. And in these games like this, keep people talking, regardless if whoever team makes the playoff or doesn't make the ACC championship. Games like this make you think, hey, or make you say to your buddy at work or in the grocery store if you run into him, hey, did you see that Miami Va-Tech game? It makes you just scream out, I love college football. Even though it's an argumentative game, games like this make you just bleed college football. So this is why it's number 19 on my list. Controversial call, emotional game. It drew on a Friday night, one of the best games on a Friday night. Miami, Va-Tech, 38-34. Miami wins, and it's number 19 on our list. Va-Tech versus Miami at 19. Number 18 on our list, however, is Georgia Tech versus Miami at 18. Now, here come the losses. Number 18, Georgia Tech versus Miami. Georgia Tech defeated Miami 28-23. And you're going to sit there and think you could hear a pin drop in that stadium, and you could. It was an early November 9th game, early kick, Georgia Tech, Miami. It was back and forth, and you think, okay, I thought Miami was going to blow Georgia Tech out. I really did. I thought Miami, after that bye week, was going to continue and get their stride going, and they're all, everything's going to be good. Guess what? Georgia Tech showed up, they balled out, and they found a way to win, and they played some good defense when Miami's defense didn't really come to play. That is the key to success against a team that does not have a good defense. You have to get a good stop on a good offense. If you get a crucial stop on a high octane offense and their defense is not good, guess what happens? You win. And Georgia Tech won. Let's talk about this game, because I thought this game was quite interesting. We covered this game. I don't know if y'all remember by watching Pigskin Frenzy, but Georgia Tech and Miami was a game that we covered. We covered it, and I picked Miami to win, and I got it wrong. Was I kind of glad that I got it wrong? For entertainment purposes, probably, because I thought it was an entertaining football game. 28-23. Miami had a 10-7 lead in the first. Georgia Tech came out and scored 7-0 in the second, 7-6 in the third. They tied it up. It was a 7-7 in the fourth, but doesn't matter. Georgia Tech got a crucial stop at the end. 28-23, Georgia Tech upsets Miami and hands Miami its first loss on their road to the college football playoff. This was a loss that Miami did not need heading in, to a November, and heading into the college football playoff. Now, I will say this: Miami was in full destiny mode there. They still had complete control of their own destiny at that point. Yes, they did. But I'm going to sit here and say this: this loss did hurt them a little bit, and it only exposed some more problems with their team, and some problems was the defense. Defense was a huge part of this. If you want to know, really why? They gave up 370 total yards, 271 rushing yards on the ground. Georgia Tech outgained them in rushing, 271 compared to their 88 rushing yards in that ball game, and they were all over them. Ouch. Ouch. It hurt them, and if a team's going to put up 271 rushing yards on you, it may not be a good day in the office for your defense, and it may be a key ingredient for your team to lose a ball game. So Georgia Tech was just found a way to win, and Georgia Tech has found ways to win in a lot of different games. We had Georgia Tech. I think we had Georgia Tech in the 50 through 41 game, in the selection of games. We're going to have them in the 10 through 1 games, because they were in a top 10 game this year, and we're going to talk about that on Thursday. Georgia Tech is going to do some great things in 2025, I believe. I think they're a team that's underlooked and undervalued going into 2025, and I would not undervalue them heading into this season. I really wouldn't. I think they're a solid football team, and I would watch out for them heading into 2025. Miami in this ball game did not need to really necessarily lose, but it didn't really hurt them until later. We're going to get to the game here in a little bit that I'm talking about with later, but it was a game that did hurt them, but not only short term. They really needed to bounce back, and they did have a bounce back, but losing late did not really bode well for Miami. That's all I'm going to say. Cam Ward in this ball game, he looked he looked, good. 3 touchdowns, 348 yards, 25 for 39. But the Georgia Tech defense got a key stop at the end. I thought that they needed to run the ball better and utilize the run, and they did not do that. They only had 88 yards on the ground. Martinez, 81 yards, 12 yards for Fletcher. Ward didn't use his legs as much. The defense kind of halted the run, but at the same time, they couldn't stop Georgia Tech from running the ball. It was just a defensive nightmare for Miami. And in reality, they weren't going to win the game with Georgia Tech putting up 271 yards. That's all it is. It was an interesting game, a classic of an upset. The fans who were there stormed the field, and it was an epic game, an epic contest in Atlanta. And it was epic. And in an Atlanta showcase, the fans in Georgia Tech stormed the field. They were bowl eligible after this game, and it was electrifying on a day of fun football. Final score was 28-23, number 19, Georgia Tech and Miami, where Georgia Tech upset Miami. Number 18, Georgia Tech defeated Miami 28-23. Georgia Tech versus Miami, 18 on our list. Really, really good. Really, really good for the soul when you see a good upset in college football, honestly. Guys, keep plugging into Pigskin Frenzy. We're at almost 4,600 listeners of the show. Keep plugging in. Follow, like on all platforms. Share around on all platforms. Subscribe on YouTube. If you have any disagreements so far, let me know. Comment down below and voice your disagreements or agreements. If you like what you're seeing on these lists, thank you. We're going to post 20 through 11 tomorrow on Wednesday on all platforms for X and Instagram. Number 7. As we continue on, we're going to continue through this list quick. Number 17 on this list, Syracuse versus Miami. And there it is. The game that I said that it didn't come into effect yet, but it will. It will happen. There we go. Syracuse versus Miami at 17. Syracuse defeated Miami 42-38. If you would have told me that Syracuse was going to beat Miami and stop them from going to the ACC championship and the college football playoff, and to help Clemson get in, I would probably tell you that this is all crazy. And guess what? Crazy happened, and crazy things do happen in college football, and this was one of them. Syracuse and Fran Brown. Fran Brown is doing an excellent job in his first year as Syracuse's coach. 10 wins on the year, by the way, if you want to talk about it. 10 wins on the year. And typing in my notes, Syracuse winning this ball game. They won 10 games, 10-3 on the year with Fran Brown as their head football coach. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You're shocked, right? You're shocked that a 1-year turnaround like that, Fran Brown in his first year as head coach turns things around and is 10-3 in the ACC and is ranked. Kyle McCord was epic in this game. He showed out again, along with Cam Ward. The defense against the defense for Miami cost them again. McCord was all over the defense, and Fran Brown had a master plan. It was a game clinching, touchdown. LaQuint Allen, 3-yard run, 42-35, and then the field goal by Miami, 38-42. They were going to try to get the ball back, and they ended up not getting the ball back, and Syracuse held on to it, and Syracuse ended up winning the game, running clock out, stopping Miami, getting it over with. And Syracuse wins in a huge upset. Like I said, dude, Syracuse at 10 wins is something to not think about. You're thinking, is this basketball? Not basketball. Syracuse was a baller of a team in the ACC in 2024. Now, going into 2025, I would watch out. Richie Collins, their LSU transfer quarterback, coming in for Cuse. Kyle McCord no longer there. He's entering the draft. Could ball out for Syracuse. Let's see what Fran Brown and Syracuse have in store for the Orange and for the ACC in 2025. Miami's defense is what cost them truly in this game. If you want to look at the stats, 479 total yards on this game. They gave up 380 passing yards. Passing yards was insane. But yet again, Miami was just giving it back to them. 503 in total yards. And then they had 349 passing yards, 154 rushing yards compared to Syracuse's 99. But the thing is, though, the defense for Syracuse made good stops when needed. Miami didn't make hardly any stops, and that's why Syracuse beat them. It was an upset. People rushed the field in New York, and you're thinking to yourself, how is this not a top 20 game? It is a top 20 game. I'm putting it there on my list. It's a top 20 game of college football because it was a magical game. One, it halted Miami from going to the ACC championship. Number two, even more importantly, it halted them from going to the college football playoff. Number three, fans stormed the field. Number four, it was talked about. And number five, it was Syracuse beating Miami. And you didn't think Syracuse would beat Miami, but they did. Unbelievable. Back and forth score fest. McCord, Ward going off in through the air. And it had the ingredients of an upset all over it. Defensively, Miami was a letdown. Offensively, they were an epic showcase, just like 2023 LSU. And that is really what Miami was this year. Now, could have Miami gone to the playoffs? Yes. Could they have won it maybe a game or two? Maybe. I don't know. But their defense was very lackluster, and I'm glad before they went to the playoffs to get disappointed, they got disappointed early on. And I think that is the positive that Miami can take away from that. But Syracuse was a surprise team that really no one saw coming, and I didn't see them coming either. 42-38 was the final score of this game. This game was an epic game. Syracuse upset Miami. It is 17 on our list. Syracuse versus Miami. And that's all the Miami games that we got, really, for our list. 20 through 17 was all Miami games. And now we're off to number 16, because number 16 is a bowl game. We got 2 bowl games on our selection, and it's awesome. Very good bowl games, and you're going to think, you didn't cover them, but I did go back and watch highlights and watch the games, and they were pretty fantastic. Number 16, USF, South Florida versus San Jose State in the Hawaii Bowl. We're on Christmas Eve, and you're going to think, number 16, that's number 16 on your list? Yes. Let me tell you why. USF defeated San Jose 41-39 in 5 overtimes. It took 5 overtimes to end the Hawaii Bowl, and South Florida finally got it done with a 2-point conversion, 41-39. It was back and forth. San Jose State had a very underrated team in the Mountain West. USF had a very good, solid team in the American Conference, just not up to par. South Florida, this is the same South Florida team that was laying it on Alabama in week 2 of college football, and then late in the game, Alabama sprung up and won. But let me go on and tell you something, man. This game was back and forth. San Jose State had Nick Nash, one of the best receivers in college football at the time, or during this year. USF had a epic offense with Bynum Brown and Alex Golesh as head coach. They were going back and forth and just trading scores. I mean, this is literally back and forth. No one was budging on defense, and no one was budging on offense either. It was just an epic game. An epic game that came down to 5 overtimes. How was that not a near top 15 game, in college football? It's a top 20 game for sure. Is it because, are you not going to put it in the top 15 because it may be the teams? Maybe. But it's still a fun game to watch. A lot of people disagree with overtimes in college football. I think that the overtime rules can be a little much, like just end the game already, I know. But it's still entertaining to watch them go that long. And I think it's just funny to think, okay, no one's giving up. We're going to talk about that on Thursday because that one is epic. USF and San Jose State. I thought it was a back-and-forth, fun Hawaii Bowl. Good recipients of the bowl game. USF was just a better team in the end. No one was letting up. The magnitude, the atmosphere, everybody was into it. It kind of drew some highlights on social media with how well the 5 overtimes, did. It was back and forth, electrifying. And I think that is why it's number 16 on my list. So number 16, USF versus San Jose State in Hawaii Bowl. USF defeated San Jose State 41-39 in 5 overtimes. Let's talk about number 15 on our list. We're now entering the top 15. Number 15, Toledo versus Pitt in the Sports Bowl. Toledo versus Pitt. Toledo defeated Pitt 48-46 in 6 overtimes. 6 overtimes. That's ridiculous. And Toledo got the win. Let's talk about this one really quick. I think, honestly, those overtimes rules get you mad. I understand that. Lynch was the quarterback for this game. Lynch and Duggar were the quarterbacks for this game. David Lynch and Julian Duggar. 2 interceptions for David Lynch, and it was 65 yards, 10 for 18. They put in Duggar, Julian Duggar, 17-13, 72 yards, 1 interception. It was just back and forth. Toledo had Gleason, Tucker Gleason at quarterback, 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 26 for 50. It was just back and forth. Team stats, 438 yards for Pitt compared to their 431 total yards. Passing, 351 compared to Pitt's 137. Rushing yards on the ground, Pitt had 301 rushing yards compared to Toledo's 80. They had 301 rushing yards on the ground and still lost in 6 overtimes. That is ridiculous. That's got to be a record somewhere, right? I mean, literally, you rush for 301 yards on the ground team-wise and lose still? I mean, that's insane. It really is. I love games like this. Like, I really do. I think games like this are really fun, honestly. I think they're fun for college football. They are exciting, and you're on the edge of your seat with it. And I think games like this are why, to me, college football is still important when no matter who the team, it is still the greatest sport on earth because it keeps you on the edge of your seat, despite it being, okay, Toledo and Pitt, whatever. No, to me, this game was Toledo and Pitt in a sports bowl. This was important. 6 overtimes. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It keeps you exciting. I'm a nerd for this stuff. I like how well it drew on social media. I like how everybody was going insane and talking about the game, going that long. 301 rushing yards on the ground, and they still lost. Toledo was really good in this game. Pitt was really good in this game. They were trading back and forth. Why wouldn't this game be 15 on my list? Going back and forth. Number 15, Toledo versus Pitt. Toledo defeated Pitt 48-46 in the Sports Bowl. That's number 15 in our top 50 games for 2024 of college football. We have a few more games, 14, 13, 12, and 11. We have 4 more games to go over. Keep plugging in to Pigskin Frenzy on all platforms. We're going to have 20 through 11, our list, tomorrow out on X and Instagram. Guys, keep plugging in. You're not going to want to miss our list. Follow, subscribe, comment down below which one you agree with, which one you don't agree with on our list, on all platforms, at Pigskin_Frenzy. Keep tuning in and plugging into the show. We're about to be at 4,600 listeners. Let that list climb, and keep subscribing on YouTube for more content for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, 14 through 11. Let's go with 14. Number 14 is Michigan versus USC. This game was, honestly, you're going to think, is it really worth a top 15 game? In my opinion, I believe so. I think it was back and forth at the end, and I think that despite USC kind of getting all over Michigan at first with their ground game, Michigan kept fighting and Sharon Moore kept fighting, and their rushing defense for USC kind of collapsed late. Kalel Mullings had a good day today in the office and had a good day in the office, not today because it's over, but I'm saying a good day in the office on the ground. USC's rushing defense was not built yet to handle it. Will they be equipped to handle that type of rushing? I don't know, but they weren't ready for it at that point in time. The final score of this game was 27-24. Michigan beats USC in overtime. I am typing it in, folks. I'm not trying to look down at the camera. Guys, I have to do better at looking at the camera, guys. That's what I'm doing right now, looking at the camera more on this show. 27-24 was the final score. Michigan played well in this ball game. I mean, if you want to look at team stats, 290 yards on the ground, 96 rushing yards total. I mean, the 96 rushing yards for USC. Michigan's defense did really, really well against the run. Did they run wild at first? USC did, yes, but they only got up to 96 yards, 290 yards. It is kind of hard to beat a team. Like I said before, how are you going to put up 300-plus yards on the ground and lose still? It's very rare. It was just Toledo's night, I guess. But in games like this, 290 yards plus, it is very hard for a team to win, honestly. If they're getting put 290 yards rushing on them, it's very hard to win a game like that. And Michigan won the game because they believed in their rushing. They really did. They did not have the quarterback play like they did with J.J. McCarthy. They may this year with Underwood or Mikey Keene, who knows? But last year, this past season, they didn't. Orji had 32 yards, 17 for 12 passing. The run was insane. Khalil Mullings, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 carries. Donovan Edwards, 74 yards, a touchdown, and 14 carries. Both those running backs are gone to the draft in 2025, but those 2 running backs dominated the day for USC's, against USC's defense. Miller Moss, 3 touchdowns, 283 yards, 28 for 51. He threw a pick, and the turnover kind of got to him. 2 turnovers got to USC late. 2 fumbles early on for Michigan, but late in the game is where it cost USC they gave up 290 yards on the ground and 2 turnovers. Crucial things that happened for USC happened in this game, and that's why Michigan won. It was a back-and-forth contest early in the year. A lot of people in the big house were on the edge of their seat. They didn't rush the field, but they were ecstatic. It was a packed house. It was on CBS. A lot of people were tuning in. I tuned in. I covered the game, honestly, for the very end, and I was watching it to the very end. Was USC going to be able to come back and tie it up or score, or was Michigan going to stop them at the goal line, make their stand, and Michigan stopped them and won the game, and Sharon Moore found a way to win late in the game. And it was classic. It was a classic game. The ingredients were there for an all-time ending, and I wouldn't say all-time, but a college football game of the year ending. Classic game, back and forth. It was very competitive, and I really, really liked that about the game itself. 27-24 was the final score. Michigan beat USC and won, and it's number 14 on our list. Michigan versus USC, number 14 on our list. Let's go to number 13, and let's talk about another USC game because I thought it was interesting. Number 13, and it's Penn State versus USC. That game, Penn State versus USC in the Coliseum in LA, number 13 in our list. Penn State found a way to get it done. They defeated USC 33-30. I covered this game. It was in overtime. It was on October 12th. I thought that Penn State was going to find a way to get the job done, and they did. 33-30. It was a good overtime win for Penn State. Back and forth game. Tyler Warren was a Superman in this game. USC was going off. Miller Moss, 220, 2 touchdowns passing, and 20 for 34. He only had a late interception. Woody Marks, 111 yards, 20 carries. The defense for Penn State was getting gashed by the run. USC on the ground had 189 rushing yards. Penn State only had 118. USC's defense did a very good job of containing that run. They were trying to do and pull, try to be better at slowing down the run after that Michigan game. And they did. They really did, especially against Penn State. And they slowed them down to a degree. But look, if you want to talk about passing, Drew Allard had 391 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 30 for 43. He had 3 turnovers, which wasn't good. 3 crucial turnovers against USC's defense. Tyler Warren had a completed pass for 9 yards. So that is where the 400 total passing yards comes in. Katron Allen, a touchdown, 56 yards. Nicholas Singleton, 26 yards, 10 carries. Tyler Warren was a Superman in this game. He had a touchdown. He had 4 yards on the ground, 9 yards passing, and completed it. He also had a touchdown, 224 yards, and 17 receptions. Tyler Warren was a beast in this game. And I'm going to just tell you now, Tyler Warren, this was probably one of his games of the year, and this is the reason why they won against USC. If they wouldn't have had Tyler Warren, I don't think Penn State was going to beat USC on this day. I really don't. I think Tyler Warren was the X factor in a lot of their games. I think this is the sign that Penn State in 2025 does need a receiver and a crucial game-changing receiver with Drew Allard going into 2025. Warren was the showstopper for this game. They kicked a game-winning field goal to seal it. They stopped USC in overtime, kicked a game-winning field goal to win the ball game and to make it 33-30 to Penn State for them to continue their undefeated streak in this one. It was back and forth on the edge of our seat where we're going to see an upset because USC brought it. They brought it on defense, snagged 3 turnovers, scored late, and brought it into overtime. It was electric. The Coliseum was on fire. It drew. The ratings were through the roof. It had the ingredients of a magic in the air and could have been an upset of the day and an upset in college football of the year if USC would have beaten Penn State on that day. They didn't, but it was very close. It went into overtime. Back and forth in competitive game. Penn State got the win 33-30. Tyler Warren was the X factor. I think he's going to do highly well and very well at the next level. So 33-30. The final score of that game, number 13 on our list, Penn State versus USC is 13 on our list. Let's talk about 12. Talk about 12 on our list. And number 12 is Colorado versus Baylor. A classic of a late night game, a classic on September 21st. Though, in the year of our Lord 2024, it was the year of our Lord 2024, 2025 now, but the previous year of our Lord 2024, 38-31 was the final score. Colorado in overtime. Beats Baylor. Goes into overtime, and going into the fourth quarter, they were trying to do, a big-time, touchdown. It gets called back, or a big-time Hail Mary, 1st and goal, gets called back by the flags are thrown in. This was in Boulder. The flags are thrown in. Right? And it was a offensive pass interference. They're trying to find a way to get the Hail Mary down the field. Hail Mary for Shadur Sanders into the end zone, and it's caught for a touchdown. Boulder's freaking out. Coach Prime's on the sideline doing this at his son. Shadur Sanders has wearing the watch. He's got the ice on. Shadur Sanders with a huge touchdown Hail Mary that goes into overtime, 31-31. Baylor and David Randolph thought they had it in the bag, and college football magic was in the air at that point. Goes into overtime, and then Colorado gets the ball. They score. Baylor doesn't stop them. Colorado's defense has it. They're going to the goal line. Baylor's going to run it in, and the ball pops out as they dive into the end zone. And after that, if you want to look at that, Travis Hunter pops the ball out at the very end, in the goal line if they jump, and it was called for a touchback. And after that, Colorado goes away with a win in overtime. Classic game. Classic, huge game. Literally. You couldn't have you literally can't script it any better. I think, as far as I know, it was Richardson who goes in. Richardson goes in for the run, gets the ball popped out by Travis Hunter, the best player in college football, Heisman Trophy winner, future Heisman Trophy winner, pops the ball out. It's a touchback, and Colorado wins the game off of an amazing defensive play by Travis Hunter. Unbelievable. Touchback into the end zone, overtime ends, game's over, Colorado wins 38-31. They come back to beat Baylor. Baylor was doing the thing. Colorado loses, or Colorado was sure to lose. Hail Mary goes into overtime after Shadur Sanders completes it. They score in overtime. Baylor dives for the end zone, gets the ball popped out, and it's a touchback, and Colorado wins the ball game. I thought it was an amazing game. It drew. The crowd rushed the field to beat Baylor, and everybody was just like, why are they rushing the field? I don't know. But it was an intense game, an emotionally driven game. And Colorado earned the win there off of an amazing play by Travis Hunter. Clutch play in overtime, back and forth, and it was late. We thought Baylor was going to pull off the upset. They did not. And it just drew highlights, talked about game. It was a must-see game in overtime, and amazing moments happened, and college ball plays of the year happened in this ball game. 12 on our list is Colorado versus Baylor. Number 12, Colorado versus Baylor. 38-31 in overtime. Colorado defeats Baylor at number 12 on our list. And last but not least, as we pull up everything, number 11 on our list is the Palmetto Bowl. South Carolina versus Clemson. South Carolina versus Clemson on our list at number 11. Clemson was a slight favorite in the game. I picked South Carolina to win. I thought South Carolina was the better team this year, and they played like it. Lenore Sellers had his breakout game and his coming out game in the very last moment. 9-3 teams going, 9-3. Well, afterwards it was a 9-2 team, 9-3 teams going at it. Final score of this game was 17-14. South Carolina defeated Clemson off of a late score by Lenore Sellers in South Carolina. South Carolina scored 10 unanswered in the fourth, got the dub, and they beat Clemson. And it was driving a lot of talk. Are they a team that could sneak into the college ball playoff very, very late? The playoff committee had some decisions to make. South Carolina didn't get in. Clemson got in instead, because of the conference championship win after Miami lost. So thank you, Syracuse, for beating Miami. Clemson got in, and Clemson ended up winning the ACC championship, and Clemson ended up getting in. But this game was a classic, no doubt, in Clemson Memorial Stadium in their Death Valley. South Carolina 17-14. It was back and forth. Kay Klubnik ran the ball well. He threw the ball well. Also, 280 yards. He also had 62 yards over the ground, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Clemson was kind of, ruffling a little bit of the feathers of that South Carolina defense. It was a back-and-forth game. We were on the edge of our seats. It was competitive. It was not really low scoring, but it wasn't really high scoring either. It was mid scoring at its best, but it was back and forth on the line of scrimmage, a battle of the line of scrimmage for sure. Both O-lines and D-lines were battling each other, and they weren't giving an inch. Lenore Sellers, late in the game, found his stride and made some big-time plays to give them the win, especially a go-ahead. And I'm going to say this, a go-ahead 20-yard run, and it was a huge touchdown run for Lenore Sellers. They could not stop him late in the game, and it helped them. Lenore Sellers in this game, it was a madman. 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, 164 passing yards. He had, honestly, if you want to look at it, he had 300-plus yards total all in this game from passing, combined total yards with passing and rushing, and he lit up the stat sheet to help them get this win. South Carolina needed it in a ranked matchup. South Carolina has done really, really well against Clemson, Can that be the future and be the norm for South Carolina? Maybe if they get unranked and they can pull off an upset, I don't know, but let's see what happens. South Carolina beats Clemson 17-14, classic of the game. On the edge of our seat, the crowd was energetic. Shane Beamer on the road, hostile environment, gets it done in a very competitive game in the last gasp to try to make the playoff, but also in a rivalry weekend. You couldn't have drew it up better. Classic game, back and forth, had some big moments in there. Classic of a game. South Carolina won 17-14. South Carolina versus Clemson. It is 11 on our list of Frenzy's top 50 games of the 2024 college football season. 11, South Carolina versus Clemson. Guys, that just about does it for our list. That was 20 through 11. That just about does it for Pigskin Frenzy today. 20 through 11 will be out now. Our list will be out tomorrow, Wednesday on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Check it out. Follow on all platforms, Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow and check out and subscribe, like each post on social media. That just about does it for Pigskin Frenzy, guys. A big thank you for taking some time out of this beautiful Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. You will find news and highlights from across college football, some on NFL, not often, just on occasion. Guys, news and highlights from across college football. Trivia post on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football post. Reels, like and comment on those posts as well on Instagram. And all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, the website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, we will be back Thursday for another edition of Pigskin Frenzy. Thursday edition of Pigskin Frenzy. It is the last of our list, the last section of our list, 10 through 1. What will be the number one game of Frenzy's top 50 games of the 2024 college football season? You're not going to want to miss our number one game of the 2024 college football season. That is on Thursday. And until Thursday, I'm Joel Norris. We're signing off. Guys, we pray for you all. We love you all. We couldn't do this show without the Lord Jesus. If you want to talk about the Lord Jesus and how you can know him, guys, contact us. We would love to talk to you and spread the good news of Jesus. We love him, and we're so thankful for the platform that he has blessed us with. So thank you, Jesus, for blessing us with this wonderful show and platform. We can't do this show without him. Guys, we love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, we will see you Thursday. With everybody, and I'm going to say this to everybody, guys, please and always stay the course.